Hello, and got a lot to say tonight about the USS Cole and how so much of what happened to the Cole is coded with the Titanic, with the USS Maine, the USS Stark, and even the Lusitania, as well as with the Parkland events of 911, all coded by the same codes. And yes, if you're looking at me, because I even look weird to myself, I just cut my hair. Yes, the winter werewolf look is over, and I am back to the summer look. So, yeah, this is not a different person, still bow and arrow. So, well, let's get started. So, the USS Cole is coded very similar to the Titanic. Let's go way back. The Wreck of the Titan or Futility was a book written by Morgan Robertson in 1898 that told us of the wrecking of the Titanic 14 years before it happened. So the propaganda for this goes way back. I mean, we're going way back. Now, consider this. The Titanic went down in 4/15, 1912, and the Cole was bombed in 10/12/2000. That's a difference of 32,000. And please let me know if you can't see any part of this board. My mom was watching last time. She told me she couldn't see the board, but I didn't get the message till afterwards. So at least a little piece of it. So if you can't see and you're following, please let me know. 3 days. What do we know about that? Skull and bones. There's right there from the beginning. There's that many days between the Titanic and the Cole. It's already coded right there, just in the number of days between them. Now we're going to skip around a little bit from different boats as we go, but also before we move on, I want to remind you that Lippold, the captain of the Cole, in the Jewish cipher sums to 322. Any similarities so far? Yeah, I'd say. Now, the Titanic was sunk to create the Federal Reserve Act. Yes, the USS Cole was sank as a false flag to prepare for 9/11. Okay. Well, the Titanic had a purpose too. And of course, J.P. Morgan was supposed to be on the boat, and then at the last minute, he was he decided he was sick. Right? Wink, wink, nod, nod, and all the people who could have stopped the Federal Reserve, the big bank owners, went down on that ship. Well, the Titanic was sank to create the Federal Reserve Act, which was on 12/23/13, and the Titanic sank on 4/15 of 1912. Well, that would be a difference of 1 year. And you're going to see this a lot today. 1 year, 8 months, 8 days. 188. Boy, do we ever see that a lot, okay? Let's move on a little bit to the Maine for a second. The USS Maine was commissioned on 9/17/1895, September 17, launched 11/18, okay, and was anchored for 2 days at Sandy Hook Bay in New Jersey. Does that sound familiar? Why would they make a mention of that on the Wikipedia articles? Well, that's definitely important. And it was actually there, they left there on 11/7. So like 1/7. So let me tell you a little bit about 17. Okay, let's see how many times we see 17. Well, the Lusitania, which was the ship that was taken down in World War I as a false flag pretense to drum up support to go into World War I. Well, the Lusitania was, it was laid down on 8/17. So there's another 17 right there. And it took 18 minutes for it to sink. And it was also at Sandy Hook on 10/11/1907. So there's an 11 and a 7 there. A lot of 17s, 18s, and 7/11s. Just like crazy on this. The coal was actually hit according to Wikipedia, not according to my brother who was on it. So they reported it this way for a reason, okay? But my brother was on the coal and it was hit. He says it was earlier, okay? I wasn't there, but according to Wikipedia, it was hit at 11:18. So you got all these 1/8s and 18s all coming together here, as well as a whole bunch of 17s. And we haven't even said them all yet. Now, we're also going to tie this with the Parkland incident, just another false flag ritual killing, okay? The Parkland incident happened 17 years after the coal, and 17 people died at both incidences. Don't we find that a little suspicious? I do. Now, the USS Stark, which was a ship that was hit in the area close to where the coal was hit in 1987. Well, that happened on the 17th of May. You might notice that in full reduction cipher, if you open up your gematria calculator and you punch in the word Navy, Navy equals 17. And coal equals 17. There's actually a book called Ship 17 about a book that was talked about by Herodotus that was just recently discovered and sunken in the Nile River. Awful lot of 17s in boats, don't you think? When the coal was hit, it was picked up by the Blue Marlin, which in the gematria calculator in the English ordinal cipher sums to 107, very much like 17. Now, back to the coal for a second. We already said that Lippold sums to 322. Okay, well, Lippold was also born on the 119th day of the year. Think he was chosen for any particular reason? For the task that he had to do? Did he know about it? I don't know. Was he a 33rd degree Mason, possibly seeking a promotion? How can I know? You know? I mean, crazier things have happened. I don't want to believe that, but you want to think that the people in the military are all good people. I'm sure my brother thinks he's a good person, but we don't know what they do behind the scenes. We just don't know. Now, isn't it interesting that they always put pi in these things too? Always pi, always going to find pi. So on 3.14 of 2007, federal judge Robert Dumar ruled that the Sudanese government was liable for the bombing. 314. And I noticed that Al-Qaeda equals 18 in the septenary cipher, and Sudan equals 18 in the septenary cipher, and the coal was hit on 11/18. There's more of those 18s again. 18 and 18. I mean, we've got 322s, we've got 11/19s, we've got 18s, we've got a whole host of 17s. And you might notice that between the bombing of the coal to this mosque shooting, which was on Pi Day 3/14 of 2019, was 18 years. Another 1/8. Listen, they planned these events. You don't think the people that bombed the coal were just, you don't believe that cover story, do you? The terrorists just do this stuff without any funding, without any planning, and they know when a warship's going to be there, and I mean, come on, and all this. They're not allowed to fight back or fire back. One person who was on the coal testified that we'd have been in more trouble if we'd have shot them than if we'd all died. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? And you think that's just an accident? You think it's just no, it's not an accident. Come on, let's get some sense here. Now, from the coal bombing to excuse me, to the 9/11 attacks was 47 weeks. So there's the stamp of government right there, 47 weeks. Because what do we know about 47? There's entire websites dedicated and Facebook pages dedicated to what is 47. Well, 47 is if you open up your gematria calculator and you type in the words government, authority, White House, president, all those sum to 47. So that's a pretty sure thing that this was a plan by the government of your country, not the government of Yemen. Okay, no. This was planned by your government. Okay, yeah. So no question about that. And then the most suspicious of all, from George Bush's New World Order speech on 9/11, 1991. Okay, now, which by the way was 10 years to the day before 9/11. Okay, that should be obvious from the date. Well, take that from the Cole bombing and guess how long it is? 9 years, 1 month, and 1 day. Now, I did hear one fella talking about it, and that his brother was on the Cole that died, and he actually mentioned this in an interview on TV. Now, I didn't know that until recently, but I would have thought if I would have known that, if I would have caught on to that sooner, that would have kind of pushed me to be like, whoa, hold on. Really? 9 years, 1 month, 1 day. Coincidence? No, come on. Really? And from the Stark incident on 5/17/87, the ship that was bombed in the same region as the Cole, to the Cole bombing on 10/12/2000, was 13 years. Now, they did say that the bombing against the Cole used 400 to 700 pounds of explosions. 400 to 700, does that look like anything that we just talked about? 4 and 7? I mean, they put their stamp all over it, and the people that write the articles on Wikipedia, so they know exactly what happened. No question that they know. And isn't it interesting that on 1/19 of 01, the Jagman report investigation was released that said that I don't know. Wait, I didn't write down what it said, but it was an investigation on what happened on the Cole. So I didn't write down the results, but that came out on 1/19/01. Another coincidence? Like, really? No. We know that there were 17 sailors left behind, dead, and that left behind 11 children. Pay attention to that number because it's pretty important. Remember the Columbine propane bombs were set to explode at 11:17? You might notice in the Gematrinator and Septenary, the numbers beneath the words shall slay are 17 and 11. Another coincidence? No. It's also, the numbers 1 and 7, 17 and 11. There's 17 again, right? 17, 17, 17 all the time. You might notice that the U.S. Cole had a 67 on it. Well, the Titanic, for heaven's sakes, was the mirror. What I did with my, here it is. The Titanic was 76. Satanists love this mirror image stuff. That's why they say there's like demons and mirrors and stuff, and some people take that literally. What they really mean is if you invert a symbol or you invert the mathematical value, it means something evil, generally. Like you take a pentagram and you turn it upside down, now it's a witch's tool, right? Well, it's the same idea. You invert, you mirror, and it becomes evil. So the U.S. Cole had a 67, the Titanic had a 76 on it. That's just more proof, okay? And the RMS Lusitania in the Jewish cipher is 670. Yeah, nothing to see here, right? Oh, hey, Jonathan, what's up, man? Just saw you. It's a live stream. I had to get this cool stuff out. I have this bad feeling any second, bro, that my kid is going to get back from her birthday party, and I'm going to have to cut it short. But I want to keep going until that happens anyway. Oh, let's see. The USS Stark, which of course was in 87. Let's do its date numerology, okay? 5 plus 1 plus 7 plus 19 plus 87. Another 119. So is it connected to the Cole? Yeah. Remember Lippold, born on the 119th day of the year? Look at all the 119s that we just put up, man. Isn't that crazy? Okay, now Kirk S. Lippold using the septenary cipher, and this is why septenary cipher is so important, why I always open it up when I'm using Gematrinator. Okay, because there's always something special within those multiplication values, especially on these big false flag attacks. They're always there. They're all over the Las Vegas attack, you know. Well, Kirk S. Lippold, I wish I had a bigger board. One of these days, I'm gonna have some. Want to do a speaking tour on this stuff or something, and more supplies or something. That'd be great. More supplies and bigger area and better cameras and all that stuff. But until then, Kirk S. Lippold. You see that? Probably not. Kirk S. Lippold is 3, 5, 5, 3, 6, 2, 5, 3, 3, 2, 2, 4. Multiply all those numbers together, and what do you end up with? 2016. This 216 is important because I talk about this all the time. It is one of the points of the pentagram, and it's also the diameter of the moon. Very important number for coded propaganda. The nearest prime to 216 is 223, and again, Lippold is 322 in the same cipher, okay? Or no, I'm sorry, in Jewish cipher. You might notice that they were on the USS Cole, which if you do all that out the same way, well, this is 666. That should tell you something about U.S. ship. 3225. Well, let's see. How did I get 12 and 18? That doesn't add up to me. Well, somehow or another, I came up with that came at 6, 12, and 18, but that doesn't look right to me because plus is 18 and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I did it backwards. Okay. 18 and 12. Okay. So 18 times 12 equals 216. So again, this is proof, man. I mean, this is mathematical proof. You can't look at this and say this happened by accident. You might not be, my brother should be able to get this. He really should. He was on the cold. This should wake him up, But he just kind of gives me that dumb look, I don't get it, But I don't know what to say because this is mathematical proof beyond any shadow of doubt that these things cannot happen by accident. So USS by itself, 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. USS Cole, 12 times 18 is 216. Kirk S. Lippold, 2016. For heaven's sakes, they can't really make it any clearer, in my opinion, They also like to code things with the moon and with the sun and with eclipses. So let's see. It was actually from the last lunar eclipse before the Cole attack. It was not quite 216, but it was pretty close. 226 days from the previous lunar eclipse. I mean, they can only go so far. They try to make as many things fit as possible, but that was pretty darn close. And the previous solar eclipse before the Cole attack was guess when? 8/11. The time the bomb was reportedly blown up on the Cole. 11/18 rather. Okay, so here it was 8/11. Remember how we're warning about that day, August 11? Well, here it was again. Okay, because the solar eclipse before the Cole attack was on 8/11, and the bomb supposedly went off at 11/18. What are the chances of that? Well, there's no chance. I mean, if you don't see it, it's not my fault that you're not very smart. You know what I mean? It's like you got to have a little bit of sense to understand this stuff. You have to at least want to understand it. Let's see. Yeah, one way to say it is you could say that the Cole predicted 9/11 and eclipses 8/11 that is to come. You know, I mean that's one way you could read that information. Now, by the way, the first USS Cole, the one that was originally built back in I don't know, I think it was built around 12 or something like that, 1912. Well, no, okay, no, it had to been if it was launched, it had been closer to the 19 date. Well, it was launched on 1/11/1919. You know, the very first Cole. I mean, what are the chances of that? There's, I mean, look at that. Look at that. 1, 11, 19, 19. Do we see any, 911s in there anywhere? I mean, just another bizarre coincidence? No, no. Man, they planned this stuff way in advance. I read an article here recently that there was a sailor killed on the USS George H.W. Bush on September 17. Another 17. Like, how many 17s have to do with ships all the time? And the very first USS Cole was decommissioned on 1/7. Gosh, that's a lot of 17s, ones and sevens put together. Now, you really think it's a coincidence? And I didn't know this until my brother told me. But you really think it's a coincidence that Lippold was actually at the Pentagon on 9/11, and that the second in command? And I lost my paper where I had this written down. I had trouble finding it again. I was looking for it, but I can't seem to find the information again. But the second in command was also in another false flag shooting event that and he wasn't the shooter or anything, but he was in a building that was called 191 or 911. I forget which. I mean, what are the chances of that? I mean, how could this possibly happen to the same people over and over again? I was looking at another 17/11 here a second ago. Let's see. Okay, now there was an article yesterday. I already did a video about this, but this girl, A.L.O., that supposedly survived the Parkland shooting incident, which, like we said, once again, the Parkland shooting was 17 years after the Cole. There was 17 dead at both events. Well, this story came out on 3/22, Skull and Bones. Remember that Lippold sums to 223, Okay, well, this story came out that this girl that survived the Parkland shooting committed suicide. And guess how long it was that this story that was reported, she didn't commit suicide on this day. This was the day that they put the article in there. So they waited like a week before they put it in there. Well, from the article, from the Parkland shooting time is 1 year, 1 month, and 8 days. Another 1 and 8. Cole was hit at 11/18. I mean, how many times are they going to do these same numbers over and over and over again? And we're just going to pretend like we just don't get it, and we're just going to keep letting them get away with it because they give us their clues. And if we choose not to understand it, if we choose not to see it, well, they're just going to keep doing it. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that should be an uprising. I mean, I see a website a call for an uprising, but honestly, they really don't give you any information that says, okay, this is concrete. This is cold hard fact here. We should go on this. It's time to rise up. I mean, they give you a little bit, but this is concrete. You can't argue with this. This is mathematical. It'll never change. Okay, as long as somebody has these dates wrote down and can use the gematria, or you don't even have to have a calculator. It's not real hard to decipher these things. It just takes longer. But you can always figure out the septenary cipher just by the 7 days of the week. It's real simple. And the alphabetical English ordinal cipher, which A equals 1, B equals 2, all the way to Z equals 26. I mean, it's so simple. That if we don't get this stuff, it's our fault. They're going to keep doing this, and it's going to compound. It's going to snowball. They're not done with these 911 rituals. They're going to keep going, and they're going to compound, and they're just going to eventually kill millions and millions of people. That shouldn't surprise you, though. How many people died when Mao took over China? I've heard estimates from anywhere from 60 to 80 million people. You think that can't happen here? Yes, it can, and it will if you don't wake up. If you continue to let them get away with it and act stupid all the time and don't want to listen to anybody, they're going to. How many, when Stalin invaded Russia, died? Something like another 60 million. It wasn't quite as much as China, but it was a big number. Tens of millions of people that were killed, and way more than World War II. And in the 1800s, Albert Pike, the only Southerner buried in the north, which is buried 13 blocks from the White House, because he's a Freemason, okay, and very steep in this sort of occult knowledge that we're talking about. Well, he predicted there'd be 3 world wars, and the third one would be against the West versus Islam. You see anything like that trying to stir up recently? I mean, how did he wrote this in the 1880s, for heaven's sakes, and we see it going on. Okay, this is not that hard that we can't see this and understand and start doing something about it. But it starts with, I need to try to learn. It means that I have to involve my brain and try to get this knowledge and not just say, oh, that's math. I understand math is hard because, on TV only nerds do math. You're going to have to try harder. They're going to kill you, man. Don't you understand that? They're going to kill you. They're going to kill your family. They're going to kill millions of people. They're doing it all the time. They use these exact codes in every one of these massive sacrificial killings. Las Vegas. I mean, for heaven's sakes, we're me and Jonathan here. I think he's still there. Well, we have that. Of course, he started it. I'm just a member of it, but he's on that Las Vegas Math of the Las Vegas shooting on Facebook. And if this interests you, that's a great place. You ought to join that on Facebook. But not if you're a troll. Okay, don't do that. But if you're a person that wants to learn, that's a place to go because we put a lot of information up there. We got some of the best information I think I've seen out on Facebook, right there on our page there. So I should say his page. I feel like I'm a member because I've been there for a few months now, and that's one of my favorite places to visit. So, but there's just so much good information on there. Well, the Las Vegas shooting, just to give you a little detailed information, Jonathan was actually reviewing this with me here a few days ago. Well, Paddock equals 864, the diameter of the moon. The numbers for Lord Jesus Christ in Greek. So Paddock, using the septenary cipher, actually becomes 864. That's pretty important. You divide that by Jesus, which is 27 in the septenary cipher added. And what do you get? You get 32. Well, this was the floor that Paddock was shooting out of. Because I know when I first looked at the shooting, I just assumed, well, 32 is pretty close to 33. Maybe he couldn't rent the 33rd floor. Didn't quite understand just how if he wanted the 33rd floor, he could have had it. Okay, this was a government event. He was well funded, I guarantee you. This was propaganda that was so well planned. I mean, think about it. 91 Harvest Festival, 911, right underneath the Illuminati pyramid with the all-seeing eye looking straight down on it. I mean, just that alone, and that is what woke me up, because the very first day that I saw it, I said, "Whoa, this is wrong." I mean, there's a pyramid, all-seeing eye looking straight at him. I mean, 32nd floor, that's almost 33rd degree Mason. I already knew, and I didn't know nearly as much as I know now. And look, he was at room 135, right? Paddock shot down from room 135. Well, that's a pretty important number. That's the number of fish Jesus caught, And, of course, the Satanists like to mirror that, 531. Well, you add them together, and what does it equal? 666. You know? So, and you take this 32 plus the one, or times the 135, and it equals 4320. This just verifies it another way. You know, take off the zero. And this is just another way of saying you mirror that, and it's 234, and that equals 666 as well. So it's just another way of saying the same thing. I mean, they've coded this very carefully. So if you want to know and understand it is exactly proof if you want to understand it. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate that, buddy. I kind of feel that way anyway, so I just don't like to be too presumptive. And even like made this interesting discovery the other day that even the coordinates for the Las Vegas shooting. Look it up on Wikipedia where this shooting occurred, and you just take the north divided by the west or whatever it is, and these were the numbers on Wikipedia that they gave for where the shooting occurred. These are different numbers of degrees, and they're divided by the, however many points west and north or whatever. Oh, shoot. 3, 6, 5, 4, 2. Okay. And what's it equal? It's just another representation of pi. Now, I don't understand why this trips some people up. Okay. I wrote this, and then some people, this is like, whoa, no, it's 31.4. It's not 3.14. But this is what you got to understand. They're not building a building. They don't need the kind of math that, like you need, and the kind of geometry that you need to actually build a physical structure. They're telling a story. They're painting a mental matrix, if you will. And, the rules of numerology, which we did not make, okay? So it's not like we're making up these rules. They're fully in line with doing this stuff because they've been doing this for thousands of years. This is how they code stuff. It just has to say basically the same thing, okay? So you move the decimal place over, and this is 3.14 pi, And that's perfectly within the rules of numerology. And there were supposedly 851 injuries and 59 dead. If you take 851 and divide it by 59, you get another one of the points of the pentagram. Now, you think that, why did they get this exact number? I mean, there wasn't another person with a scrape or something that they could have, or there's one or two less, they just exaggerated. No, they use these numbers on purpose, divided by the 59 dead, and you get 144,000. And again, you have to move the decimal place, Okay, it's actually 14.4. But that's one of the points of the pentagram. Jesus or God looking out. They're making fun of Jesus Christ. They're saying that he's the bad guy, shooting down and taking the 144,000. You understand? I mean, So of course, all this, from everything from the coal to these mass shootings, they're all coded the same way. Now, a minute ago, we were talking about that 4320. Remember, in the 216s and everything. You don't think this is Bible knowledge? Remember all the 216s that went along with the coal there we were talking about? Well, Moses and Aaron. Moses, and I already made a video on this before, but Moses. This is Bible knowledge, okay? This is why you use the septenary cipher for these sorts of things. Septenary cipher is not the only thing you can use, okay? But it's built into the Bible, so that's why they use it, especially if they're trying to convey some sort of biblical message, okay? In a false flag attack or something like that. So, Moses is 1, 2, 6, 5, 6, which multiplied out equals 432, okay? And times it by Aaron, because Aaron was with him, right? Mouthpiece. 1, 1, 5, 2, 1. And that's 10. 2, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, well, 432, or multiplied out, it really doesn't matter. So, what's 5 times 2 is 10. So 432 times 10 is 4320. Okay. But like we said, 432 mirrored 234 is 666, right? So they go together. But the 4320 is what's known as doubling the cube, a very another important concept in Kabbalah, in cube worship, if you will. Kabbalah, cube, you know. Okay, that's why the Muslims go and dance around the cube, you know, they're required to go there once in their lifetime because they have to worship that cube at the end of the day. But what they don't understand, as much as they say as they hate the Jews, well, they got the same system going on. That's why the Jews put that little cube on their hat and pray, you know. Well, that's because you take all the degrees of one cube and multiply them out, and you end up with 2160. That's one cube. So you got two cubes on top of each other. Moses in here, whatever you want to say here, what does it equal? 4,320. You know? So this is just simple Kabbalah math. And who knew? I didn't know, you know, a year ago that I'm not a Kabbalist, but I think I know more about the Kabbalah now and Kabbalism, I guess, if you will, than a whole lot of Masons and so forth actually know. And that's a shame because, you know, this is the thing about secrets. This is why I don't like secret societies and how Masonry and all this ends up. Because those that do learn this in Masonry, they tend to use it for bad purposes. That's why I don't think if we're going to understand this knowledge, we should keep it secret. We don't need to make another Masonry cult where we just us discuss it. Instead, I think we need to make something where we shout it from the mountaintops, okay? Because if we don't, if everybody doesn't at least have the opportunity to learn this stuff and at least be told it, then it's just it's gonna rot in these back smoke-filled rooms full of satanic occultists who are going to use this knowledge for evil. But if everybody knows it, it's going to be a lot harder for them to do that because they're going to catch on real quick. Okay, but to them, this is power. They think this is giving them the license and power to do these things because this is ancient, sacred knowledge. You know. So let's see if I got out everything that I want to say today. You know, all those 811s and just some reminders, you know, like Robin Williams died on 811 near the coal at, you know, 1118 was hit. And we said that Lippold sums to 223. Well, guess what day of the year this coming August 11 is? It's the 223rd day of the year. So when we're telling you to pay attention to this August 10 and 11, the Tisha B'Av days, you might well pay attention. You know, Zach Hubbard, that first got me into this stuff. He hasn't been wrong very often, you know. I mean, you might want to deal with a track record like that, you know. I mean, if you're calling the Cubs are going to win the World Series before the first pitch is thrown, because you understand the sacred knowledge, and it's the 108th World Series, you know, the baseball's got 108 got 108 stitches on it. You know, and that's how many footballs they give to the team in the playoffs and all this other stuff. And, you know, it's also the radius of the moon and so forth. Well, this knowledge gives us information. You should listen to him, you know? I mean, because how could he be right about that unless they're really using this? You know? I mean, let's not be stupid. Come on. We have got to be more intelligent. And maybe it does sound mean that I feel like I'm just calling everybody dumb, but I know, like, probably if you're watching this, if you're smart enough to watch this, you're probably not one of those people anyway. It's the dumb people that probably aren't watching, you know, aren't listening. So I know I'm really, you know, in a sense, preaching to the choir here, so I get that. But just to review a few things I learned this week, stuff I put on other videos, like, you know, George Bush gets a hole in one, and hole in one equals 227 pi. You know, It's just a few days before, or just a little bit after Pi Day, I guess. So it's it's pretty close to that anyway. And 227 divided by pi is 72, and Bush was 72 years old. Every little story they do has something to do with this sacred geometry. So, and it could have been also when he said that he wants to shoot his age, which was the last phrase in the article. Well, Trump is 72. Is that a threat against Trump? It kind of made me wonder. Is it? I don't know. So, well, I think I got it all out. Pretty sure my kid's going to be contacting me soon, come get me from my birthday party. So my friend's birthday party. So I'll call it quits, but I think I got everything out that I wanted to say anyway. So, Jonathan, thanks for tuning in, man. It's good to see you on there. So, and God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe.